Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. It's Tuesday, day after the long weekend. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. Well, what do we got going on today? The Dow started off down about 700, but we're rallying back, only down about 300 right now. Probably going to rally up into the close. We'll see how that plays out. We're actually positive on the NASDAQ. So if you noticed on Friday, we had an up day, about 300 on the Dow, and today we're down about 300. So it's kind of like a wash, but that's pretty typical for a 3-day weekend. Day before the 3-day weekend is usually an up day. Day after the 3-day weekend is usually a down day. Now, I do think at some point we're going to get a short covering rally in this market, and I want to be ready for it. Now, I'm not positioned for it very well right now. I have a very small position on the SPY. I have a little bit of a long position on, but it's small. It's small. I do want the market to pull back. Well, I think the market will pull back. I actually do want it to have that big short covering rally, but I want to get positioned first. Right now that we're just kind of flat on the S&P today, and we were down earlier, and that's where I put a small position on, but I do think that that's still going to pull back in. I think we're going to pull back below 370, below 360, even probably even below 350. But at some point, I'm going to layer in, you see, and that way I'm going to get positioned so I'm ready for the big rally when it happens. But I do think there's still some risk to the downside here. But I do expect a short covering rally coming soon. All right. So let's move on to the real estate market. Well, what's going on in the real estate market? Well, a lot, really. Okay, so we got 8 million people out there in the U.S. that are not paying their rent. 8 million people are not paying their rent. Now, we also have 1.5 million people that are behind on their mortgage payment. They're in jeopardy of being foreclosed upon. But we haven't had foreclosures for the last 2 or 3 years. So the foreclosure market has been pretty much non-existent. But we're going to start to see some foreclosures. And evictions are going to be just going like crazy. The eviction moratoriums have come to an end. And there's 8 million people still not paying their rent. This could explain some of it. Could explain why some of the rents are so high. Why the rents have gone up 27% year over year. Now, a lot of that was money printing, but when you tell people they don't need to pay their rent and they can just stay there, there's no evictions. Now, these places would normally open up and they would make room for another renter that was willing to pay the rent to come in. Now, some of these people that aren't paying their rent, they actually have the money. Now, some do not. Some are living on credit cards. They've been running up the credit cards. Credit cards expenses are going up and up and up. But the rental market is, very fascinating with 8 million not paying their rent, and rents are sky high. We all know that. It's kind of like we're in a rental bubble right now. Now, here's what I'm finding. Okay, a lot of people, what they've done is they sold their principal residence. So they sold their principal residence. Why? Because they feel that it's too high, that it's going to come down. They sold their principal residence and they're renting something smaller for the next year or two, waiting for the market to come in and then get back into the market. Look at it. Let's say you have a $500,000 gain on your house right now. They sell their property, and if it comes back, they can jump back in the market. Now, of course, there is a risk that we double in price from here. Now, what could make us double in price from here? Well, hyperinflation, I suppose. I suppose we could get hyperinflation going, and the prices of everything will double. A gallon of gas will be $20, but your home will also be going up. But a lot of people think inflation causes home prices to go up. Now, that's not technically true. Look, do you think that if people had to pay $20 for a gallon of gas, that would somehow make your house go up? No, it really doesn't work that way. What makes houses go up is an increase in income. You see, houses are bought with debt, right? So they're bought with debt, and people want to know how much debt they can take on. So if you have an increase of income, you can take on more debt to buy more house. But right now, income is not increasing fast enough. It's not increasing at the rate of inflation. So real income rate is actually going down. And this is what's putting the pressure onto the housing market. A lot of houses are starting to go down in a lot of areas. In my area in particular, and not your area, your area only goes up. But houses are starting to come down. They're starting to come down because, well, listings are flooding the market. And the reason listings are flooding the market is because we went from 3% to 6% in the mortgage rates. Now, when that happens, it's a shock. It's a shock to the real estate market, okay? So the real estate market gets this shock, and people start to panic. Sellers are starting to panic, and they put their house on the market. All right, so there's a flood of inventory coming onto the marketplace, and this is creating downward pressure. But the wages, if wages were going up, then I could make an argument that houses are going to go much higher. But real wages are not going up. The real rate of inflation, in my opinion, 15 to 20%. I don't think your income's going up at that rate. Most people's not. Maybe yours is, but most people's income is not going up at a rate of 15 to 20% a year. Therefore, they're losing purchasing power, and they can afford less and less house because inflation is taking away their purchasing power. See, people don't get that. They think that if there's inflation, that the houses will automatically go up. No. It doesn't work that way. Now, if your income goes up 20% and inflation's only 2%, you're going to see houses explode higher. Now, what else could make houses go up? Well, the government could come and they could purchase homes. Now, here in California, the government wants to be your landlord. Okay, Governor Newsom, he wants you to pay rent to the state of California. And they've already bought 6,000 homes. 6,000 homes are now owned by the California government. Now, what if the federal government decides to start buying homes? Well, that's possible. They could make the home prices go up, and then you pay your rent money to the federal government. Now, a lot of countries are starting to do things like this. I hear there's a program in Australia. I don't know the exact details, but the government owns 40% of your home. You own 60% of your home, and they give you the down payment. And anyways, if you sell your home, well, 40% of the profits go to the government, and who knows, I guess you're taxed on the other 60%. I don't really know, but do you guys think it's a good idea that the government starts to purchase homes to keep the prices high? We don't want the home prices to go down, and they could do that. The Federal Reserve could start to buy homes and then rent them out to you, and that way they'll keep the home prices high, and they'll keep your rent high, and they'll keep you in slavery. That's basically how it works. Now, I don't think that's a good idea. There's a lot of things going on right now I don't think are good ideas. I don't think it's a good idea that foreigners are allowed to purchase houses. I think you should have to be a citizen before you can purchase a house in the United States. Most countries, foreigners can't come in and buy real estate, but in the United States, we let anybody buy the real estate. And foreigners buy about somewhere between 5 and 10% of all homes. I don't think that should be allowed. That's my personal opinion. Maybe you have your opinion of that matter. Now, what else? Well, I don't think corporations should be allowed to buy homes. No, I don't think they should. I don't think corporations have a need to buy homes. I don't think that we should allow them to. Now, I'm okay with them owning apartment complexes. Let's say apartments over 8 units. That's what I think they should be allowed to buy. Anything under 8 units, no. Do not let them buy the homes. Now, the reason they've been buying the homes is because the government has kept interest rates so artificially low that corporations could get money below 1%, and they'd go out and buy these homes, and they were competing against us, and we have to pay 3, 4, 5, 6% interest rate, and they were paying 1%. Doesn't seem fair. They were coming in with all cash. A lot of them, because they get the cash from the government, they'd pay the government 1% and go out and buy as many homes as they can, and then rent them out to you and me, and they'd make 5% on their money. I don't think this is a good thing. That's my opinion. I do not believe that corporations should be allowed to buy homes. I think it should be flat outlawed. But if you do allow them to buy homes, well, at least you got to tax them, right? I mean, they should pay maybe 5 times the property tax rate if they really want to buy homes. Sure, let's see how many they buy then. You know how many they'd buy? They'd buy 0. But the reason this plays out, and I do think that the recession will fix this problem is because rates were kept so low that the corporations couldn't find anywhere to put their money, so they put their money into houses. Now the California government, they got this excess money right now. They collected too much in taxes. They want to start their own bank. All right. So they got $100 billion to start a bank with. So let's say they start a bank, and let's say they can buy 10 times that $100 billion. So they can go out and buy $1 trillion worth of houses, and they become your landlord. They will rent you the house back. Do you think that's a good idea? No, I don't think that's a good idea. I do not think the government should be allowed to buy houses. I don't think they should be in partnership with you. I think we are a land of the free, and we should still be allowed to buy a home and have full ownership of the home. We don't want to be a partner with the government like they're doing in Australia. You want to go 50-50 partnership with the U.S. government when you buy a home? I mean, that will keep the prices up. It will. So there's some argument that they can keep the prices at these levels. There are certain ways they can do it. I just don't think that they should be allowed to do it. I don't think corporations should be allowed to buy. I don't think that government should get into the real estate game. Look at the Federal Reserve. You know, they used to not buy corporate debt. That just started recently, and then they started buying corporate debt. And for some reason, I have a very strong feeling that they're buying actual assets, actual stocks from the stock market, things like Apple Computer, things like, Meta, things like Google, things like Amazon. And soon, I think that the Federal Reserve would love to be able to buy houses so that way they don't have to worry about the drop in houses that's coming. And they might try that. I just think that's wrong. I do. I think it's wrong. And maybe you got a different opinion on that, but I do not want to be partners with the government, even though I do have to pay property tax on my house, so that's kind of a partnership with them. But I don't want to be partners where when I sell my house, they get part of the gains and then they tax me on the rest of the gains. I just don't want that. So hopefully all this made sense to you today. I hope that, it makes sense. Anyways, I'm Tall Mike. Get out there. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. Give me that thumbs up, though, man. This is the day after the 4th of July. We'll talk again real soon. Bye-bye now.